Well, just like that, 2021 is almost done. Like last year when we were given the roundup of 2020 by the mind of Charlie Brooker, we've had the same again this time round. Moving away from his traditional BBC wipes, we see a semi-fictitious and comedic approach to the year that some people are dubbing almost as bad as 2020. So, how does this year's version of the show compare to 2020? Well, let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. So without further ado, I'm Brainpilot, and here is a review of Death to 2021. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers, so watch with caution. But if you've lived the year, then you've been in it. If I'm being honest, last year I wasn't super impressed by the show. I went into it with mediocre expectations, and I think it hit that level in my opinion. I didn't find it super funny, it painted out the year, which is its intentions, but the main thing was the fact that the cast was stellar and they all did a great job in portraying these fictional characters. Based off the back of that, my expectations were at the appropriate level before going into this year's version. With Death to 2021, the formula was the exact same. We were transported through the year of 2021 through the use of archival news clips and some returning characters, with some new additions too. The likes of Samuel L. Jackson and Lisa Kudrow didn't return. However, I didn't feel like they would. We got to see Kristen Milioti play the same character, who is an extreme mother who is now an anti-masker and anti-vaxxer. She did a great job with this role and really suited the Facebook extremist or Karen mentality that you often see when these subjects arise. We had the return of Samson Kayo, who portrayed the scientist again. If I'm being honest, I didn't really find his section that funny or entertaining to watch. There was this recurring joke about music being played, and it just felt a little too forced and didn't quite hit the mark. The end where he had a new variant of COVID being created with its smashing I did find quite funny though. Joe Keery's Duke was also a character that was reprised. I feel we got to see less of him than last year, however the character stayed true to who he was in the first season. In being this influencer that genuinely has no grasp on reality and is solely focused on making content, I think this character was created perfectly and sums up the TikTok influencer type of person well. They don't have a clue but are the first to have an opinion. Diane Morgan portrayed the idiot type character who also made a return. We saw through the lens of dating in lockdown through her experience, which I thought was quite entertaining and different to the others. Since last year I've watched Motherland and her character in this is very similar to that. Carefree, says what she thinks and doesn't really have that much common sense. I'm glad to see. Probably thought he was the funniest out of all of them. His opinions, getting lost in his trail of thought, his no justification for anything, but just having upper class views because he's upper class. It made me laugh on several occasions and was portrayed really well. In terms of new characters, we actually had Rizzo from Grease play Penn Parker, who is a cultural commentator, and she played that part really well. Her persona even gave me Rizzo vibes, with the way she was sitting down smoking with a glass of whiskey. Her opinions were relatively extreme, but not as extreme as broadcaster. She was an anti-vaxxer and portrayed a character that influenced her viewers based on her beliefs, that aren't realistically for the greater good, something that a lot of people have done throughout the pandemic. Lucy Liu appeared in this season of the show, but to be honest, I feel she was probably the most forgettable out of all of the new cast members that were in Death to 2021. There were several references to the metaverse and the social media platform Yip Yakka, which was fictitious in the world that we were watching. Joe's character had it in suggestions of his videos, and William Jackson Harper played Zero, who is the founder. I'm intrigued to see if this is something that could potentially be tied to a future Black Mirror episode. Who knows, but I'm keeping my hopes up. I thought this show did a great job in forming the narrative of 2021. The start of the year felt hopeful with the introduction of the vaccine, and then there was loads sandwiched between, like the new variant, Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah, Prince Philip's death, the mind-numbingly bland Oscars, the anti-vaccine protests, extreme weather, billionaires going into space, the Olympics, the fall of Afghanistan once the troops left, TV and cinema with the likes of Squid Game and James Bond, social media and the metaverse, just as we were at the start of the year. This show highlighted that well. When looking at all of the moments that were called out, I don't think there were any that were missed that were worthy of talking about. I feel the narrative was well structured and going by a month-by-month basis, and calling out the hottest, most controversial and mind-destroying subjects. The narration by Lawrence Fisher was also a quick glance. Overall, I think this show is okay. It's not an incredible watch, and to be honest, it's actually quite depressing, but the humour makes it something at certain points. I think this is the best a show like this can do. Do I prefer Annual Wipe? Yes. It's more of a cynical view and a direct mick taker out of the moments that occurred in the year. This is a more satire look with a direct hands-on approach to the wokeness that appears to dominate society today, and it doesn't do it for me. So, there you have it, what I thought of Death to 2021. Did you enjoy it? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.